You're up.
All right, well, welcome to the show, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. Nick and Danny with you. And Danny, I was getting a little concerned because we had, the Europa League today. And I was thinking, it's really a pull to get some big stories out of the Europa League today. And then, well, the bombshell was dropped, Danny. We get to talk MLS today.
Yeah, obviously the massive story. We've all been wondering what was going to happen with Chivas USA. And now we know they are being taken over by Major League Soccer. Pretty incredible stuff. Visions of the New Orleans Pelicans in the National Basketball Association, the Washington Nationals in Major League Baseball, and now MLS has stepped in and taken ownership of the GOATs. We'll talk about that today. We'll talk a bit about the Europa League. I know, Nick, you're dying to break down the Chorna-Moretz-Leon matchup, right?
I can hardly control myself, Danny, in expectation of doing that. But I love the way you said it. You said goats in that sort of California goats way. It was very, very surfer of you. Very Santa Barbara, Danny.
Anytime, bro. Anytime, man.
All right, 800-878-PLAY. I'm going to ask you this. I've said on this show that ownership will not put butts in seats because I don't believe it will. And, you could have your Miami, you could have your David Beckhams, and there'll be an initial groundswell of support and excitement. And then when he and Posh go back to Buckingham Palace and go back to England to live, that'll all die down. But the flip side of that, Danny, the flip side is that lousy owners ruin football. We're not just going to look at Chivas USA here, where Jorge Vergara took control from the Quay brothers. We're going to also look at Hull City, where there is an extremely interesting situation unfolding in terms of the renaming of the team, where now the owner is essentially blackmailing the fans. We got so much to get to, Danny. Plus, we can talk a little Europa League if you'd like. I'm going to ask you this, Danny. Let's talk about the sum of the parts. Does it equal the whole if you're talking about Gareth Bale?
I don't think so at this point, my friend. 0-0 for Spurs in Ukraine. Pretty big stumble over there. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the pieces that they've put in place to try and replace the great one now drowned in Madrid, the greatest Welsh player of a generation. Nick, lots to discuss tonight, and it's all right here on World Soccer Radio.
That's right. Well, if Joe Allen was the Welsh Xavi, Gareth Bale is the Welsh Bale.
Pele.
I don't know. He's the Welsh Bale. All right, 800-878-PLAY, 800-878-PLAY. We will be joined here in just a few minutes by Kyle McCarthy, the MLS writer for FoxSoccer.com. We're going to talk about this MLS story with him. Man, we got a huge show today, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Safety, safety.
All right, welcome back to the show, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. Nick and Danny, by the way, big hello to our men and women in uniform listening around the world on American Forces Radio. A privilege it is indeed for us to speak with you each and every weeknight from 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this very same network. Also, if you're listening on the affiliate stations of the Sports Byline Network or TuneIn.com or iHeartRadio.com, or you're watching our beautiful mugs, Danny, our beautiful, beautiful mugs on, well, my mug anyway, I don't know about yours, on YouTube at Watch WSR.
He's so hot right now. This is the point in the show where you say, oh, that's Echo and the Bunning Men. I remember when I was a child of the late 80s, or excuse me, early 80s, late 70s, and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, you missed your cue. Nick.
No, I didn't, Danny, because I wouldn't want to bore you with stories, regale you with stories of my youth.
I tell you what, I'm sending an email right now to Scott and Jerry up north, Sports Byline, our first electronic dance music track of the show. Get ready to be fired up next time around, sometime in the next couple days.
All right.
You ready?
All right, well, I'll tell you, let's talk about fired up because we're going to start with, let's start with the situation at Tottenham because today they go to Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine, it's just Ukraine, where they play Dnipro. And first of all, I thought that was a very interesting situation. I mean, with everything that's going on right now in Ukraine, which is a disaster to say the least, a terrible situation,
awful.
Where you have the pro-Russian government sort of fighting in the streets with more of the democracy movement, and there's lots and lots of casualties. It's a bad situation. I was surprised this match went ahead as planned, but it did.
Absolutely.
And there was a couple of interesting storylines for me in this match, really three of them, Danny, that stood out. Number one is the bloke that was going to come to Liverpool, whose name is Konoplyanka. Yeah, he better, if he comes to England, he better get used to the raunchy songs because his name, of course, rhymes with wanker. So he better get used to that. Number two, he looked really good. He had some fantastic moves. Finishing needed a little bit of work, and he did take the penalty and score that one. So that was an interesting storyline. Number two, Soldado could not score in a brothel. He could not finish a pint. This guy has the Torres disease, has bitten him, and I don't know if there's any way we're going to get him out of that one because, quite frankly, I thought he got himself into great positions, Danny, but he just didn't finish.
Well, here's the issue, I think, with Tottenham spending this summer, Nick, and how it relates to what you're saying is that, they use the money for the sale of Gareth Bale and a couple other players to obviously go on this huge spending spree. And they actually brought in some nice players that I think will grow into key roles for the team. In some ways already are in key roles for the team. Paulinho, Christian Eriksen, help me out, Capoue.
Yeah.
Chadley, can he be a strong
Chadley,
winger?
Soldado, of course.
But no, not Soldado. That's the point, Nick.
Are you talking about the support mechanism?
I'm saying that the players they brought in outside of the front men have been successful. But then they went and spent 55 million pounds on two forwards in Lamela and Soldado, and they haven't been worth the paper that they were printed on. And in the end, a true goal scorer, a true game-changing goal scorer is absolutely priceless in a league like the Barclays Premier League and in Europe. So they brought in some nice parts around this attacking talent, these finishers, if you will. Yeah. Nobody finished it. Nobody's able to finish. And Soldado was just awful.
Paulinho, Nasser Chadley. They brought in Soldado, Capoue, Lamela. Don't forget Vlad Chiriches. They brought in Christian Eriksen. I mean, 107 million pounds worth of players. What this is telling me, by the way, not that any of the players they brought in are crap, because they're not. They're good. These are good players. I mean, these are really good players. Soldado is a really good player, Danny. He didn't just arrive.
He is a really good player.
He didn't just arrive in the Premier League and become rubbish. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. There's issues of settling in and the system and the pace of the game. We talk about the
Spanish goal scorers have trouble adjusting to the Premier League.
They do. So I don't buy that these are bad players, but what I do buy, and what I will say again, is that what they missed today to win that match was Gareth Bale, a guy who is a big game player that will pull you up by the scruff of the neck, that will drive the team forward, and that will score the goals. And look, there are big name players around the Premier League. Not all that many of them, by the way.
How many would you say there are?
Well, let's start counting, shall we? Let's start with Manchester City. Would you say Sergio Aguero was a big name player?
I would say, as you go through it.
Well, let's do it. Let's go through it. Let's go through
I can name off my choices going through the table quickly.
Right.
Hazard, Aguero.
Yep. Oscar.
Suarez. I don't think Oscar is.
No,
Hazard.
Oscar?
No.
Steven
Hazard,
Gerrard?
Aguero, Suarez. No, come on.
I'd
This
put
isn't
Gerrard
2000. This isn't 2005.
I think
crazy?
he's been. I think. Well, what about Yaya Toure?
Hazard, Aguero, Suarez. I guess Toure. No, players that can completely
Rooney.
change a game on their own. Rooney and Van Persie.
Yeah, Rooney, Van Persie.
That might be it, right? That
Well,
might be it.
I think as you get further down the table, you're going to look at guys, some of the players in Southampton, maybe. Maybe you can look at the threesome up front for Villa at times, the Benteke-Weimann connection. You could maybe look at.
I
You
guess
could
I'm
certainly
talking
talk about
another level. You're not gonna put
Lukaku.
Weimann and Benteke
Right.
on the same level as Gareth Bale.
No,
okay?
exactly. I agree with you, by the way.
You're putting together a collection of players to replace them. But as far as one-man wrecking crews,
No, I'm
there's
with you.
5 of them.
Romelu
Van Persie-
Lukaku. You got to put Lukaku on that list because
Okay.
single-handedly
That's fair.
he
Yeah.
did the business. But you're right. You're right, Danny. They are few and they are far between. I think you have to put
Kevin
Sturridge.
Nolan.
You have to put Sturridge and Suarez on them probably for Liverpool.
Yeah, I guess.
But you have to separate the pure goal scorers from the guys that will drive the team forward as well.
Yeah, I think Sturridge is a pure finisher. He's not going to drive the team forward.
Maybe.
You're looking at Rooney,
Maybe.
Van Persie, Aguero, Hazard, and Suarez.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with that. I'll definitely go with that.
And
list.
you can't replace those players.
They are
Especially
irreplaceable.
With today's driven up prices.
Thank you. 100 million will give you a lot of money in the bank, but it won't drive your team forward and score goals for you when your team is down and playing badly. It just won't do it. So you can have all the money in the world, but the sum of the pieces, and you're seeing it right now at Spurs, those are beautiful pieces that they have. I don't think they overpaid for any of these players. I think that, on the whole, I think they bought well. I think the value of the pieces is correct, but the sum of the pieces for Spurs, for the results column right now, does not equal Gareth Bale. And we see this time and time again, Danny. That's what happens. That's why if Liverpool lose Suarez, they could get 100 million for him, but they won't be as successful as they would be with him because you just cannot replace that player. I think that's a situation a little bit at Man United over the years with Rooney. I don't know whether we're there anymore with Rooney. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see, but he's certainly a player that's eminently capable of doing that.
Yeah, the quality is there. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
The quality,
Big Rooney fan.
The game-changing quality is certainly there. And I think we all knew that Gareth Bale would be irreplaceable, that Tottenham were going to have to do their best to fill the holes around him. And again, I think when you look at the back nine, if you will, everything outside of the two frontmen, when you look at the back nine, they've done a nice job. But in the end, we expected Soldado to be able to finish chances like today and get that important away goal, leave with a draw. We just expected him to do that. And I don't think it's asking too much, frankly.
By the way, I do want to mention that we're not talking about goalkeepers in this because goalkeepers have a completely different effect on the game. I mean, I think Lloris is an absolutely brilliant goalkeeper. I think probably the best goalkeeper right now in the Premier League. In my opinion, you can argue.
Is he French or Belgian?
He is. I want to say he's French, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's French.
Spurs have done really well. I mean, they have not conceded that many goals. However, they are right there with Liverpool. They have conceded more goals than City, Arsenal, Chelsea. They've actually conceded more goals than Everton, and more goals than Man U, more goals than Southampton.
Well,
so on the back they've had their problems.
The one asterisk is if you take away their embarrassments against City and Liverpool, they have the best defensive record.
You mean if you look at the mean and not the average, right?
Well, if you take away the 17 goals they shipped in those 3 matches, they've only given up 15.
Right. By the way, you did say
20.
shipped. With PPE,
yes, I said shipped.
Yes.
Although the other word might have described their defense in those games.
Might have indeed. It's a fascinating issue, Danny, because the window's closed. So now obviously we're all talking about what teams need to do as we look to the summer window at the end of the season when it opens up. But it's so important. We talk about Rooney leaving and Suarez leaving. It's not all about money, people, because money doesn't score goals for you. If it did,
why do you think I'm here?
Exactly. Irreplaceable, Danny Page.
Show me the money.
All right. Nick and Danny with you, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA.
Their goal difference is plus 4, by the way.
It is. Okay.
That's horrible.
All right.
Plus 4.
We are going to go to break. When we come back, let's talk Major League Soccer and ownership. This is a big topic and one that's not going away anytime soon. We'll be right back after this on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. All right, welcome back. Boy, the first line of that song would probably be appropriate. There we go. Lots of people felt that Jorge Vergara and Antonio Quay, or the Quay brothers, actually, the two of them, were pretty much the antichrist of Major League Soccer ownership over the years, as they introduced the GOATs to Major League Soccer. Their idea of branding their almighty Chivas de Guadalajara team here in the United States and creating essentially a U.S. franchise for their great Mexican team.
It was a good idea.
It was a rubbish idea, Danny.
It was a good idea.
Danny,
the brand of Mexican football is so massive in this country.
Yeah.
I've been to a game in Guadalajara. I've been to a Chivas game at the old Estadio Jalisco. The passion and the energy is absolutely brilliant. It's an outstanding environment. It's just a ton of fun. The idea was there. The execution kind of there, but it just turned out, it just didn't work out.
No,
I think it was a good idea.
Danny, let me ask you this, okay?
Ask me.
What is, if I say Audi, what does that mean to you?
Car. Belly button.
If I say Porsche, what does that mean to you?
Nicer car.
Right. Okay. But the point I'm making here is that they all have their branding taglines.
Horrible word association.
No. They all have their branding taglines, right?
Right.
What's it? Audi, driving excitement, or whatever it is, and etc. Chivas USA, Chivas de Guadalajara, their branding is the fact they are an all-Mexican team. That is their key. This is why I'm saying this is the most cockamamie scheme. And by the way, I want to point out, the Vergaras came in with the concept of bringing the Chivas brand to the United States. The Chivas brand, as I pointed out, is pure Mexican football. That's what it's all about.
Right.
Now, bring it to Southern California with a massive Mexican population, the fact that you're automatically going to alienate the entire population that is fans of Club America or any other Mexican team.
Right.
Put that one aside for a minute. Let's just say there are enough Chivas de Guadalajara fans here in Southern California to make it work. Unfortunately, it is nothing to do with the brand that they'll follow back in Mexico. Now, they had the idea, it was a decent idea at first blush, but you would think that Major League Soccer, with all their marketing expertise, with all the people they have in the ad agencies, and I mean, this is a league that when they started the league, had Nike name the teams.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to get highly brandable teams that they could
the
work.
Metro Stars, by the way.
Yeah, okay, well, we can all talk about that, too.
I missed the Miami Fuego or whatever it was.
Exactly. The San Jose, what was it? The Clash, wasn't it? Or the Earthquake?
The
Clash, whatever, right.
London Calling.
So they, they brought in these marketing experts to decide how to brand these teams because they didn't know. So they brought in, they have learned a lot. How they let this franchise open with that problematic branding, not understanding that what they were going to want to do was exactly the same thing they were doing in Mexico, which was only playing Mexican players, which of course they cannot do here in Major League Soccer. So automatically the brand was, watered down and was a fake. And fans of Chivas de Guadalajara knew that. They didn't come out and support the team. And then, Danny, they made the one biggest mistake you can ever make.
What was that, Nick?
They didn't invest properly in the players when they started the team, and they got beat and they lost. And it's very, very difficult to build a fan base on top of a team that's getting its bottom smacked week in and week out.
Absolutely. It's sort of the Los Angeles Clippers kind of issue here.
Yeah.
When, even the colors are similar, right? When the
By the way,
great
comparison, Danny. Great comparison.
When the branding goes out the window, all that's left is a poor product on the field or a poor product on the court, and they're very similar in that regard. I think there's one way, Nick, that this group, we talk about how fickle a sporting landscape Miami is. Let's talk about how ridiculous a sporting landscape Southern California is.
Yeah.
Really, for the most part, we are just brutally fair weather fans. That is how we
You're
are.
politely saying that it sucks.
Well, no, it's
it does.
different.
It does.
It's
rubbish.
In SoCal, we really rally behind our teams if they're good. People will go to baseball games no matter what because they like being outside drinking beer. It's like going to the park. People go to baseball games no matter what in SoCal because of the weather. But even the Lakers have seen a dip in attendance this year. They stopped selling out every game with the team's awful performance on the floor.
Hold on, Dave. I don't care how big your brand is. You cannot charge what the Lakers charge for tickets and put the crap product on the court that they have done this year.
Well,
now,
it's not going to be that long for the Lakers, though.
And we all
they're
understand
Lakers.
that. We all understand salary caps and the collective bargaining agreements and the issues the Lakers have with luxury taxes, and they need to rebuild. I mean, we all get that. But having said that, I like the Lakers. Believe me, I love the Lakers. I mean,
but you're never going to pay that amount for it.
I'm not going to pay hundreds of dollars to see Jordan Hill and Steve Blake, who's no longer there, be the two stars in the team right now. It's just not worth it to me, by the way. It's just not going to do it. My hard-earned sports dollars are worth more than that. The problem with the football teams here in Southern California is that you have the LA Galaxy, okay, with the flash and the big players they brought in and the flashy managers, whether it was Bruce Arena or whether it was Ziggy Schmidt or whoever, right? I mean, they were run by AEG, which was a big LA-based company, big LA-based entertainment company, that owns part of Staples Center. And by the way, for those that don't know it, own a good portion of the Lakers as well. So you have that marriage right there. Then you have this Mexican team, this team owned by the folks from Chivas that has no identity, that's a bad team, that's not winning, that's playing at the same ground as the superstar team. Well, you got problems right away.
Let me tell you how to make it work, and this is what I was getting to, and it gets to a tweet from Daniel
Anthrax?
At @smashit_DI. What part of the LA area do you think Chivas USA should relocate to? And I will tell you this. There is no part of LA that they can relocate to and be successful. To be successful, they must do what the Clippers considered doing and what the two other secondary franchises that are successful in the area have done, and that is move to Orange County. Orange County, the people in Orange County identify themselves now as such different individuals and consumers than those in the Los Angeles area. You put a Chivas team in that complex where the Angels are, where the Ducks are. You put a soccer team there, which, by the way, the OC is soccer mad. They are nuts about soccer. The best high school and club teams are all in Orange County. You put Chivas USA down in the OC, call them the OC Bros or whatever, and I think they could be a team with their own identity and with their own fan base. I would love it. I would love it.
Oh, Danny, Nike just called me. They said the marketing job they were going to offer you is not going to happen.
You don't
the
think
OC
Chivas
Bros?
USA?
All right, let's go to the phones. Milwaukee. Who's that? Ray, how are you?
I personally feel the reason why Chivas USA failed is because it wasn't Mexican enough, and that the fan base in Southern California. Yeah. I'm a Guadalajara fan myself. I'm a Mexican League fan first myself, and I was excited about it because I think it was going to be a team that Mexican League fans, and particularly Guadalajara fans, could get around with. We want to see Mexican players. This league
hold on a second. You are exactly making my point for me. The problem you have wasn't with the team. It was the fact that it was a fake brand that was sold to you. Chivas, that wasn't Chivas you were looking at. That was just a very mediocre MLS team. That had none of the branding identity that you get with Chivas de Guadalajara you saw at Chivas USA. That's what you're saying, right?
Right. The fact is that this league is void of Mexican stars. There's a massive fan. None of my Mexican fans watch this league. I watch this league because I feel that it's going to help us grow better. But rebranding it in Southern California isn't going to bring Guadalajara fans or Club America fans to this new team. It's got to be a connection. We want to see Mexican players.
So you would have liked to have seen an exemption for Chivas to USA so that they could play, that they would have the right to play only Mexican players. The problem with that is, and by the way, I'm with you. That's the brand that was sold. That's what people were expecting, and that's what's made Chivas de Guadalajara the team that it is. But there's no way that's going to happen here. We've got all sorts of labor laws here that would not like that whatsoever. So there's going to be a big problem doing that. But hey, listen, Ray, I'm with you. I don't think that by rebranding it as the LAFC, Los Angeles Football Club, or Los Angeles Soccer Club, if that's what they're going to do,
The
or
OC
Orange County,
Bros.
or the OC Bros, they're obviously going to basically, they're not looking to pull in a purely Hispanic fan base at that point. So, I mean, I think that's what they're trying to do, trying to open it up. I think it's unfortunate because it's not the fault of the Hispanic fans. They know what the real deal is, and they took one look at Chivas USA and recognized the fact that that was not the real deal. End of story.
Right.
And the fact is, in the modern day and age, where we can get on the telly or on the internet and we can see games from just about every league in the world real time, there was no need to support the team because you can support your real Chivas de Guadalajara whenever they play very easily. So big mistake from a branding perspective. I think, it's about time. MLS did what they had to do. They came in, they shot it in the head, they put it down nicely, and now they're going to resurrect it as some other sort of Frankenstein. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call from Milwaukee. Always great to hear from him. And by the way, Danny,
Yes.
that is such a great call because if the marketing folks at MLS and at Chivas had listened to him from the get-go, they would never be in this trouble, having this trouble right now.
Yeah, I don't know how like a Jared Borghetti never ended up playing for Chivas USA. Someone who is a legend.
Legend.
Legend for Chivas Guadalajara. As a My Little Pony, when you think of Chivas Guadalajara, you think of Jared Borghetti. He never played. Hey, how about the OC Bros, man? Yeah.
Okay, forget it, Danny. You're out. All right, well,
you have you could do the wave with surfer stuff. You do the wave.
The rumor is it's going to be Long Beach City College or somewhere in Long Beach. They're going to build a stadium.
No, they need to be in the OC.
It's not going to happen, Danny. By the way, the PDL, the USL Pro team in LA that struggles mightily, what was called the LA Blues, they're now the OC Blues, and they're playing at Titan Stadium in Fullerton. I think they're going to bring in.
They moved. They're at UCI.
Oh, they're UCI now.
California Irvine.
So what are they going to bring in now? 50 people a game? All right.
And Stadium.
All right, we'll be right back after this. World Soccer Radio.
Bra.
Oh, I don't know what to do with you. We'll be right back after this.
When you work at
All right. We're back. World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. Of course, the big story right now, we're talking about it. Major League Soccer put down Chivas USA like a racehorse who has twisted its ankle, broken its leg, or whatever it is they do. They have euthanized this team and have taken control of Major League Soccer from Jorge Vergara. Danny, the Twitter is blowing up.
Yeah, Twitter is. One other thing, by the way, with that song coming in, it would have been Kurt Cobain's 47th birthday today, mind you. Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, you know who that is?
Yes, I do know them. Yes, absolutely, I do know them.
Would have been his 47th birthday. All right, we have some tweets coming in here. Hit us up at World Soccer Radio. Let's see. We have a feisty Arsenal group, the Triangle Gooners podcast. Says, check out today's at World Soccer Radio, and we love the Spurs talk going on. Hashtag forever in our shadow. At Edward Hart at Idaho United talks about Soldado earlier from our Spurs chatter and says, even Josie Altidore thinks Soldado is a clown.
It's not what he said, is it?
No. The Triangle Gooners pad says you can buy players, but rarely can you buy goals.
Spot on,
good stuff.
Spot on. What about, are we getting any feedback to the MLS talk? To the Chivas USA? I believe we are.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Here's one from Bernie Wilkinson. So if Chivas is branded a Mexican team, will Miami Sound Machine be English? Yes.
Right. Okay. And, of course, I've got one here from Smash It Die says Chivas USA need a different identity, like a new name and a new stadium, and I do believe they're going to get both.
Like the OC, bros. Let's put them down in Orange County.
Let's not, Danny.
Let's do
not good for you. All right. I tell you what, you and I think we know a few things about Major League Soccer, but in point of fact, we know very little. However, we are, like all good people that know when they're out of their league, we decided to bring in a major league MLS hitter, and we've done that again. We welcome back to the show one of our favorite guests from the MLS editor for FoxSoccer.com, Kyle McCarthy. Kyle, this news is welcomed, overdue, yet has dropped a little like a bombshell, wouldn't you say?
All the above. I think you can just tell by the reaction on Twitter how happy people are that Chivas USA will be no more. It took a long time to get them out of the league, but I think everyone is going to be pretty happy when that brand fades away after the end of this year.
You know, Kyle, I was in Vegas, was it earlier on this week or was it last? It was over the weekend, on Sunday, for the Pro Soccer Challenge there, where they do a friendly at Sam Boyd Stadium, and they had, by the way, I'm sporting my UNLV shirt today for those of you who are not watching on YouTube. So anyway, they had Colorado Rapids and MLS and Chivas USA come out. Now, that's just about two of the worst teams in Major League Soccer. What was amazing to me is they drew 13 or 14,000 people to this game. I don't think. When was the last time Chivas drew 13,000 people to anything?
Well, it depends on how you're going to count it, right? If you're looking at bodies in the stands, I can't even remember. Yeah. It's been that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Kyle McCarthy joining us, the MLS editor for Fox Soccer. The thing that I question is an LA guy, Kyle, and I don't know what your experience is in Southern California. Is there a real belief, it seems like there is, that a second soccer franchise can succeed, that this isn't just about Chivas and its branding, but that a secondary MLS team can succeed behind Galaxy in the market?
I think there's got to be some space for a non-Galaxy team out in L.A. I mean, you know L.A. better than I do, but it seems like there's enough people there. There's enough of a difference in that market where if you target that team correctly, that you can be successful. Now, Chivas USA was not a success. Everything about that franchise stumbled. But if you do it the right way, if you rebrand it properly, and you get the right backing and the right stars, I mean, I don't see a reason why it shouldn't succeed. But, we've been down this road and it's failed once, so who knows at this point.
Kyle, hold on a second.
All right, you're first.
Kyle, take us through this story. Take us through this how it happened, because a few days ago we were talking about some leaked images that had hit the web through one of these trolling sites that was looking for looks for new cell phones or new patents and
World
trademarks.
Cup kits.
Right.
Yeah.
And anyway, and they'd come up with I put this up on our YouTube feed if you're looking at it. I apologize for the blurry image because it's the best I could find. But here is a crest for Los Angeles SC, and then a similar looking crest but a little different modern for Los Angeles FC. And rumor had it that these were, in fact, Chivas USA's early attempts to rebrand. It would now seem as if this was, in fact, the opening shots or the opening salvo in a series of events that was going to lead us to Major League Soccer's takeover today. Is that what really happened? And when did this discussion start?
The discussion started well before those leaks came out. This is the sort of deal that takes a couple of months to put together. And those images are a part of what Jorge Vergara was doing in terms of trying to figure out what he wanted to do with the club. I mean, he could have kept the team and rebranded it himself. But as Don Garber said today, if Vergara wanted to keep this team, he'd have to double or triple down. That includes stumping up the money for the stadium, includes devoting more time to the team, and then figuring out a way how to make it all work. And Vergara ultimately decided that that wasn't something he wanted to do. And MLS came in and paid him some money and sent him on his way. It's a process that takes a little bit of time, and I think looking at some of those images from earlier in the week, that's part of it. But the end product is MLS is now in charge. They're looking for investors to keep the team in LA and build a stadium, and then those investors will come in and do a rebrand.
All right, so let's talk about this, Kyle, because I happen to know factually that they were looking to sell the team last year. And at the time that Jorge bought out the Quay brothers, he bought them out for $40 million, meaning he valued the team at the time at $80 million. If you look at what NYCFC paid for their franchise, if you look at the valuations of the new franchises around the league, it would seem that an $75 to $80 million price tag is about the valuation of an MLS franchise today. Are you telling me MLS paid him $80 million? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I have a feeling MLS said that it paid market price for this team, but what's the market at this point for the battered Chivas USA brand, for a club that still needs to go out and build its own stadium, and for a team that, quite frankly, was losing money and losing lots of money? So do I think MLS paid $80 million for Chivas USA? Absolutely not. I think that MLS stumped up enough money to send Jorge Vergara on his way, and then they're going to set another price that's going to give them a little bit of a profit on top of that and rid themselves of their issues at the same time.
Kyle, how serious are they about keeping the team in Southern California? I mean, isn't this almost a tailor-made opportunity for one of these other markets like, well, where are we talking, Wisconsin and a couple of other markets that have been talking about wanting a team but don't have one yet, to come in and acquire a team and move it? Or are they dead set on keeping it here in Southern California?
They are dead set on keeping it in Southern California. Don Garber said today basically that wasn't on the table, moving this club. They want to sell it to people with some local ties, preferably, and keep this team in L.A. Now, you can debate the pros and cons of that, but it's one of those things where if Garber comes out and says that, it at least provides some assurances that this club is going to be in this market for an extended period of time. Now, that helps you as you're going out and you're looking for investors, and you're looking to do a stadium, because those things are going to take some time, and he's going to need some capital, both financially and socially in the city to get a deal done. So that sort of proclamation helps if MLS is indeed serious about keeping the team in LA.
Kyle, I mean, but what if someone, say a group in San Diego, wanted to pick the team up, or
Orange County,
or San Bernardino, or who knows, maybe Las Vegas? I mean, would that be something they'd look at? Or is it a question of West Coast, or is it we are going to make two teams successful in Southern California because we are going to make two teams successful in New York? I mean, is that really what this is?
I think that's about the long and short of it. I think when they look at that market, they see it as a two-team market. They look at the NBA, they look at the Lakers and the Clippers. Now, I don't necessarily see the NBA and MLS as comparable, but that's the idea behind it from MLS's perspective. They think the market is big enough to support two well-run teams. And when it comes right down to it, if MLS is able to build a second successful franchise in LA and build that rivalry with the Galaxy, that's going to ultimately be better for the league in the long run than moving it to another market and being successful there.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. I understand that when it comes to really believing that Los Angeles can support two teams. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And maybe I'm a pessimistic Los Angeles sports fan, but that's me. One thing that came to mind when I saw this with Chivas USA and the sale to the league as opposed to a different ownership group was the New Orleans Pelicans, now they are, and the Washington Nationals Montreal Expos. Do you think in your mind MLS will try to draw some tips and ideas from those teams that were professionally owned by their leagues, and in the case of New Orleans still are. What do you think?
I think you need to do that. I think you need to look at your peers and figure out some best practices. And Garber said today that he's hoping to appoint a locally aware president of the club to oversee things, and that the league's going to set a budget and basically give it to Chivas USA and say, hey, look, these are the principles that you have. This is the resources that you have at your disposal. Go ahead and run this club. And I think that is fairly in line with what other leagues have done. But it would be silly for MLS to ignore what Major League Baseball and the NHL and the NBA have done in these situations, because there are valuable lessons there to be learned.
Kyle, these are all great points that you bring up, but I just wonder, when you talk about the league bringing in a group to run it and set a budget and everything else, I mean, it's going to be essentially a meaningless season for Chivas, because they're going to be under caretaker ownership. They're going to have a limited budget. Are they going to find someone who is going to put them in their own stadium? Because at the end of the day, that is the critical issue. Because as long as this team is ground sharing at the StubHub Center with the LA Galaxy, they will never, ever have their own identity. Having looked at the LA sports scene, having seen, the absolute mess that was the LA Dodgers when they were put up for sale, and, the fact that we've had some no luck getting an NFL team in here and some other things. I mean, really, do you think someone's going to find $300 million to build a stadium?
That's the question. And MLS is bullish and confident on it. I think it's going to be a little bit harder than they expect. This is a difficult market, like you said, and it costs a lot of money to build something worthwhile in Southern California. And until that point, MLS has got to pay the freight, and that's going to get expensive. So Garber said that he hopes to have new ownership in by the end of the year. And for me, that raises the question, well, how far down the line are they with some of the people that they've been talking to? And how committed are these groups that they've been discussing with to building a stadium? I think ultimately they'll get it done, but there will be some bumps along the way. This is not an easy situation. It's going to require a lot of patience and a lot of groundwork, because Chivas USA this year is going to be a lost year for them. There's not going to be a lot to build upon when a new owner takes over this team. So you have to be careful and make sure that you make the right deal. It's not the quick deal in this scenario. It's the right deal.
Well, the good news is they'll have the good draft picks. The bad news is, and I just remember back to the early days of the Los Angeles Galaxy when I was there and involved with them when they were at the Rose Bowl. I remember how difficult it was for them to locate the land that they needed to build what was the Home Depot Center at the time. I mean, I remember Phil Anschutz and Tim Leiweke got on the blimp, the Goodyear blimp, and literally flew around LA looking for plots of land they thought it would work at. I mean, it's just going to be a lot more difficult than they think. Kyle McCarthy, man, you are a rock star. It's always great to have you on. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you on and continue the discussion again another time.
Well, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks so much. Kyle McCarthy from FoxSoccer.com. Man, Danny, we ran out of time. Wish we had more time with him. All right,
crazy.
We'll be right back after this. World Soccer Radio Sports Byline USA. The topic right now, Chivas USA and the league putting them out of our misery. We'll be right back. right, we're back. World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. Danny, we're going to continue this discussion probably into tomorrow because I don't think it's going away. We're going to get another MLS expert on tomorrow as well to continue this because it's so interesting especially in light of what's happening in Miami. We have to talk about this some more.
Yeah, I'll try and get somebody that's more MLS LA oriented.
No, he was perfect. Kyle was a rock star.
No, absolutely. But I'm saying let's specialize it a bit tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll read. I have a couple tweets here. You can read them on our account at World Soccer Radio. Here's a great one that came in late. At PuckLusty10 says, "Is Chivas USA destined for Hollywood Park, comboed with a relocated NFL team?" I like that idea.
By the way,
you have the space. You have the West Side. Interesting.
I think that land's already been sold, though. I think that's the problem. But go ahead.
Right, but I mean, the interest is Stan Kroenke.
Yeah, Stan
Isn't
Kroenke.
he a part of it? He could put in another MLS team there, probably. I think he could.
I don't know. He doesn't do very well with the one he has, but keep going.
Well, he's got Arsenal. He's got the St. Louis Rams. Dude's got the Denver Nuggets. He's got enough to worry about. So.
Any other tweets? Was that it?
Another one. Second team won't succeed if they don't capture the Hispanic market. That's what Ray DeRosco too says.
And I agree.
And then Edward Hart says, I can see that no NFL team in LA as another reason for MLS to keep the club there, take advantage of the absence. I don't know if I want to bring in the whole NFL and LA issue in that regard. Who knows what's happening there?
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. We absolutely enjoyed bringing it to you. I'd like to thank our guest. He's an absolute rock star when it comes to MLS. This guy knows everything. Kyle McCarthy, an absolute...
Lawsuit's done, by the way. Sorry to interrupt, Nick. He just tweeted and said the lawsuit's done.
Brilliant. Okay, so all sorts of things are falling into place. This is a moving target. This is a developing story. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll continue the discussion. We'll bring you the updates. And most importantly, we'll continue to talk football with you. Coming up next, folks, the best broadcasting team in the business. They are not floundering. This is not the Chivas USA of broadcasting. This is the Barcelona of broadcasting coming up next. Mr. Ron Barr, and he's only right here on the Sports Byline USA Network. Cheers. Enjoy it. We'll speak to you tomorrow at 9.
Have a good night.
Thank you, too.